Welcome back, guys. We've got another preview video today, this time of the Asura Esper battle. This should be coming to global, technically the very next story update, so maybe this month, unless Gumi decides to push it back for some reason. But this is going to be a preview of what to expect from the fight and how you can gear your team if you want to do it in advance once it is finally announced. So we're going to be using Wilhelm for passive provoke. Now, the boss has a few attacks that bypass, cover, and evade, so you want a provoker that's really tanky. So we went as high defense as we could on Wilhelm while still keeping passive provoke. And other than that, he's got, you do want fire resist if possible, but in my Japanese gear I couldn't really afford it, so that's what I'm using with my Wilhelm. Fina's going to be the healer, and she's geared and the whole team wants fire resist, by the way. At least 30% plus a 70% buff if possible. And Fina's on Carbuncle for a fire resist buff. Nicole is going to be just a general buffer. He's got, buffs. And he's got Toxic Rain materia for the 50% threshold. And I'll be explaining that more when we get there. And he can deal water damage, which is useful for sealing one of the stances. Bosch is going to be my double tank. Now, he can cover physical and magic, and he can swap them at will with no cooldown. That's why we really like Bosch for this duty. Now, he's geared for 100% evasion, which is going to help cut down a lot of damage in the fight. And other than that, he's got some resistances. And your cover tank wants as high as you can squeeze for fire, ice, water, earth, and holy resist. Now, I can only afford this on my Bosch, but this should be alright. And then Sephiroth is going to be my chainer. Now, he's using an ice weapon. He's going to be chaining ice with the friend. And other than that, he's got some human killer on. Now, your DPS doesn't really need very tanky stats. Just, a little bit of defense will help for later in the fight. And I'll explain that when we get there. But for the most part, your DPS is fine. But Sephiroth can imbue himself with Holy and Darkness. And he's using ice for that sealing. You also need to seal Wind or Earth, and Wilhelm was using a Wind Dagger, by the way. I should have mentioned that. And the friend we're grabbing is, an Axstar, really well geared. So this will be quicker than probably on Global. But like I said, you can't find an old friend unit on the Japanese server. Everyone's using new units and above. So it's my choices were Axstar, Bartz, CG Lightning. So I went with the closest one to release on Global for the friend. Anyway, Asura is going to ambush with four turns of mitigations. We can't really hurt her for 4 turns. The missions. The missions are 3 limits, deal ice, water, wind, and dark damage at least once, and summon Fenrir and Anima. Anyway, so for this first turn, Sephiroth's going to imbue himself with darkness with 10 for 10 turns. Axstar is going to imbue himself with ice and fire. Bosch is going to cover physical. Wilhelm is going to break the attack of the boss. Fina is going to do a mana regen, and Nicole will buff stats, and that also fills the Esper gauge for the mission. Well, somewhat. Didn't all the way fill it. Alright, so for this turn, the boss is going to buff herself. So we need to dispel that, and then break her again. After she finishes her turn, of course. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and... let's see here. We're going to cast Holy for the mission, and then dispel the boss. Because there is a mission to deal the Holy, Water, Earth, all that. We still need to deal Wind. No, we dealt Wind with Wilhelm when he breaks. So we're going to break again. And we need to do water damage. So we'll go ahead and deal water damage with Nicole. Alright, and now our chainers will just chain. We're mostly just passing the time, waiting for this mitigation to wear off. And, alright, we got an Esper. Oh, that's the wrong Esper. Bosch is not using... it's fine. We'll summon an Esper next turn. Alright, so this turn, the boss, on turn 3, she's always going to put up Fierce Stance. It's random later in the fight, but turn 3 it's always Fear Stance. So if we attack her with anything offensive, she is going to get real mad and basically wipe our team. We don't want to hit her with anything offensive. So we're just going to do things like, oh, here we go. We'll summon Fenrir for the mission. So there's one mission down. Sephiroth will imbue himself with darkness again. Axstar will just use a minor heal on the team. We'll refresh physical cover. Yeah, so basically we're just trying to not attack the boss with anything offensive. So Nicole will stats and mitigation, and Fina will mana regen. So we've still got one more turn after this mitigation, then we can finally start hurting the boss. Alright, so because we didn't attack the boss, she's just going to end her turn. Like, you know, I'm done. There we go. Because we properly did that stance. Now she begins using her elemental stances. The first one is always ice and fire, and then it's random from then on. So as you can see, she buffed her fire and ice resist. That means you have to hit her with a fire or an ice attack, one or the other. Either one is fine. Otherwise, she'll do a really bad counter next turn. So we're going to go ahead, and she also buffed herself. So we're going to dispel her with Fina, and we're going to put a re-raise on Bosch. Alright. So we dispelled her. So because our DPS are using ice weapons, we don't have to really worry too much about that. Actually, let me do this. Yeah, so we're going to deal ice damage with our DPS. So let's go ahead and imbue, and then peril. Let's get that out of the way. So this is the last turn of her mitigation. We can start hurting her next turn. Alright, we need to break the boss again. We keep dispelling. Oh, and because she did that, she's going to use an ice magic attack on our team. Should have mentioned that. So we're going to magical cover with Bosch. And now we're going to buff ice resist with Nicole. And we'll just do a stat buff. Alright. So here comes an ice attack on the team, which Bosch is going to cover with magic. And because we properly sealed her, she's not going to use her AoE Imperil. Alright, so this time the boss used Face of Rage, so it buffed her attack and magic, which is not a problem. That we don't have to do anything special with that. We do have to dispel it though. So we're going to go ahead and fire resist and dispel with Fina. And we've got to break again. So we're going to break the attack. This is going to be a physical cover because she didn't use a stance. So we're going to physical cover with Bosch. Because she... Yeah. Alright, so we're going to Imperil again and use Axstar's cooldown to buff himself. So hopefully next turn we can deal some real damage with Axstar. Because the boss is doing all these stances and we have to keep the spell in there every single turn. It's really messing up our DPS. Alright, so now we're going to... There we go. Alright, let's see what stance she uses next turn. Hopefully it's one of the other elements. And we'll finally be able to get some real damage in. Alright, here's the physical attacks because she didn't use an elemental stance. Alright, she didn't use any stance at all. I think. Excellent. So this is basically a free turn. Alright, so we're going to break her magic Wilhelm. We're going to mana regen. And now we're going to get as much damage as we can in on this turn. So we're going to AT chain. Let's see. We're going to do that. And then that. Oh, 2 turns left. That's fine. Alright, so we're going to stat buff. And I'm going to use a good stat buff on Axstar, because he's the main damage in this fight. Alright, see what kind of damage we can deal. Not as much as I would have liked, but it's fine. Alright, so we'll physical cover and mana regen. Alright, let's see what kind of stance she uses at the end of her turn, if any. Okay, no stance. We get squeeze. It's another free turn, basically. Let's see. Is Axstar still imbued with ice? He is 2 more turns. So we're going to. Let's see. We're going to do this, and re-imbue himself. Chain. Let's go ahead and chain now. See what kind of damage we can deal. Okay, not too bad. So we're going to summon Anima, so we know we summon both the Espers needed. We will just Limit Burst with Fina. We'll just guard with him. And we'll just physical cover. So we've done one Limit Burst now. We need to do 2 more before the end of the fight. Alright, so we got that damage over time debuff. Alright, let's see what stance that is. Okay, it's indestructible stance. So for this stance, someone has to guard. So we're going to guard Bosch. And again, we don't want to attack her with anything at all. So we're going to guard Bosch. We'll provoke imbue with darkness. Axstar will... all his cooldowns are down, so we'll do that. But yeah, just to reinforce, for indestructible stance, you need to guard at least 1 unit on your team, and then the rest of them can do anything except offensive actions. So as long as it's non-offensive, you're fine. And let's go ahead and let's do a resist, and we'll do a re-raise on Bosch. Alright, so now the boss is going to do an AoE physical, but this can be covered and evaded. If we didn't guard someone, she would use one that cannot be covered. That's Fury Slashes. Alright, what'd she use this time? She did the same thing again, the indestructible stance again. I think because Bosch countered with Ring of Lucii, that probably was a mistake. He might actually have triggered a counter here. Let's guard Wilhelm. We're gonna find out, I guess. Let me go ahead and AoE re-raise with Fina, just in case I triggered that counter attack because of the Ring of the Lucii. I probably shouldn't have warned that, huh? Oh, okay, so the Ring of the Lucii didn't count. That's good. Alright, so what do we have here? What stance? Holy and Dark stance. That's fine. So, Fina, we need to dispel that buff she put up, though. Fina will dispel and re-raise on Bosch. Alright, we need to break the attack. Now the boss's magic is not broken, and we're covering magic with Bosch. So Bosch might die, but I think he has 100% holy resist with this buff right here. With Nicole, 70% buff. I believe Bosch has. Yeah, 30%. So Boss is currently immune to Holy, so this attack won't hurt him, even though the boss has no magic break. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and use 2 limits with these two, just to finish that mission. Sephiroth is currently imbued with darkness, by the way, is why we're sealing the Holy stance. Alright, so that's the Holy attack. Bosch is currently immune to it. Alright, this is Water and Thunder. Alright, so our water damage is Nicole. So we'll go ahead and hit him with water. That seals that. Alright, Sephiroth is going to chain Holy Explosion. And let me see here. We'll Imperil, we'll Imbue, and we'll pop his good cooldown. Alright, so now Axstar is fully buffed, so if next turn, as long as she doesn't do Indestructible Stance, we can hopefully deal some good damage with Axstar. Alright, I'm going to put up... let's see, I'm going to break the boss's stats with Bosch. Fina is going to give a resist buff, because Nicole had to cast water. He didn't buff water resist this turn, so Fina's going to do it instead. And Wilhelm with his guard. Alright. Please use a good stance. Alright, here's the water attack. And let's see what stance she uses. She used... Oh, Rage stance. Outstanding. Okay, so that's actually not a stance, it's just a buff. But now that Axstar is fully empowered, let me go ahead and do as much damage as I can with him. Unfortunately, I can't triple cast because I'm using Sephiroth. Oh, not quite to the threshold that I wanted. Okay, that's fine. So Fina will dispel the boss and heal. Bosch will put up physical cover. Once that dispel is finished, we'll break the attack with Wilhelm. And we're going to use Limit Burst with Nicole to fill some mana on Axstar. Fina's not really getting too many turns to use her mana regen. Alright, so this will be the threshold as long as it's not Indestructible Stance. Alright, no stance at all. So we're good. Yeah, no stance. Okay. So Sephiroth is going to chain Absolute Tranquility, and we'll just double cast the chain with Axstar. So this is definitely the 50% threshold. Got it, got it. Alright. So we're going to physical cover with Bosch. All the boss is going to do is buff herself an end turn. So I'm just refreshing buffs and such here. Let's see, mana regen. And Nicole will do mana regen as well. Try to get as much mana on Axstar as possible. All this mana regen should top him off at the end of the round, though. Not close enough. Alright, so now the boss did Fierce Obliteration Stance. It buffs all her stats and gives her 1 turn of mitigation. You have to blind the boss here. If you don't blind her, it's a wipe on the 50% threshold. So we're going to go ahead and Fire Resist and dispel the boss's buffs first thing. And this is why we gave Nicole a Toxic Ring. This is a guaranteed chance to blind. There you go, blind. We're now going to break the boss's magic stat. Alright. We can't really hurt the boss right now, so we're just going to do that. And we're going to refresh, imbue, and Imperil. And Bosch will do a physical cover. Alright, so because we broke the boss's, because we blinded the boss, she's going to, there we go, she just buffed herself, no big deal. Alright, so Fina will, let me go ahead and re-raise Wilhelm. Now the damage is going to kick up a little bit. So we re-raise Wilhelm, going to break the boss. We'll use Bosch to break her. We'll provoke with Wilhelm. And let's go ahead and keep chaining with our DPS. Oh, I had to freaking dispel. I swear, this boss is the most irritating thing. All these dispels mean I keep losing the Imperil, and I have to keep putting it back up with Axstar. Actually, I'm just gonna forget that. I'm just gonna full chain with Axstar without the Imperil, and then I'll put the Imperil at the end of the round because it is nice. It's gonna break the chain. Yeah, as you can see, pretty good. So let's see. So we did stats. I think we need. Let's do stats and mitigation. I'm not sure what Nicole did recently. Alright, so the boss is still going to use stances occasionally in this phase. You got to keep watching for it. But the damage goes up because she starts using more like attacks that bypass cover on Wilhelm. Okay, so that was a pretty tame turn, actually. She didn't use a stance, so actually, we're golden. Let's go for it. Much damage we can push. I don't want to use Nicole's cooldowns right here, so we'll just do this. There's another threshold at 20%, which is going to be even harder. I'm trying to save my good stuff for that. Alright, so we'll physical cover, but she didn't use a stance. We'll provoke. And let's go ahead and do a mana regen buff. We're getting there. This boss is quite tanky, as you can see. And that's with an Axstar. It'll be even harder on global if we do get it on time. But knowing Goomy, they might delay it. I really hope not, though. So she didn't use a stance. We're getting really good luck here. I've practiced this fight a few times, and she uses stances pretty often. But she's not this time, so, you know, wonderful. So let's just go double chain. Let's see if we push that 20%. Oh, so close, so close. Go ahead and refresh the brakes. Now these are only 60% brakes. My Bosch is enhanced, so that his brakes are 60% better than global. But it's not anything too extreme. All right, let's just keep these buffs going. No one really took damage, so we'll just keep. Actually, no. I'm going to. Oh, fire resist, derp. I almost forgot about that. So fire resist and re-raise on Wilhelm. And Wilhelm will provoke. Alright, so next turn will be the threshold. I'm glad I refreshed fire resist right there. Alright, what stance is this? Oh, just rage stance, not a big deal. So let's go ahead and heal and dispel the rage stance. Actually, is she still imperiled? She is. Let me get my damage in before I do that. And get rid of that imperil. Actually, whoops. And now I'll dispel her in peril at the end of the round. Alright. Here comes the damage. That wasn't much damage at all. Oh, our hit point locks. Derp. That's obvious. Okay, so we're going to dispel the imperil and heal, because Wilhelm's looking mighty hurt. Alright, we're going to break again. Wilhelm will provoke. Alright, this is going to be Vengeful Stance, I believe it's called. It's going to buff her stats by a lot. We're going to dispel that. And it gives her a permanent mitigation buff. This mitigation is only 35%. So it's not that big a deal. Alright, so Fina will fire resist and dispel. Now the boss is going to start using AoE fire attacks, unavoidable death, single target, to cover with Bosch, and break with Wilhelm. Alright, let me chain this, and Axstar will imbue and imperil. And now we're going to use some cooldown buffs with Nicole to hopefully survive better. And we're going for the final round. Alright, so let's see what happens here. Here's some physical attacks. And there's the auto death. And this is why you want passive provoke, to deal with that auto death. Because you can't prevent it. Safety bit will not work. Alright. Did she use a stance? I'm not sure if she even uses stances below 20% anymore. Alright, so let me go ahead and raise up Wilhelm. And we will re-raise Bosch. So remember, Wilhelm is still passively provoking, even with this. Alright, so we're going to chain Sephiroth, and we're going to chain Axstar. Excellent. Is she still broken? She is. She's not magic broken, but it's okay, because as long as she doesn't use an elemental stance, she's not going to use magic. So let's refresh physical coverage. And we will put some resistance buffs up, just in case anyway. Alright. Oh yeah, there's that damage over time. Like I mentioned, it's really painful. Alright, there's the auto death. And there's the fire attacks that bypassed evade, but that's why we have fire resist. So even though that damage over time is destroying us, we're okay. Alright, how's her stats looking? She's still broken. We're going to go ahead and use an item. These are allowed to raise Wilhelm. And then Fina is going to refresh fire resist and do a heal. How's our mitigation buff looking? 1 turn left. I'm gonna play it safe. Refresh that. Alright, let's go ahead and just double chain with Axstar. And this might be the win. Maybe one more turn. Oh! Alright, so that heal over time with Nicole countered that damage over time from Asura. Okay, so this is a pretty tame turn. Pretty tame turn, it looks like. Alright. Looks like we got it. Alright, just to remind, we need to deal... Let me just do all these elemental damages again to make sure. So, water... That... Punch. I'm pretty sure we dealt holy damage, but we're going to do it anyway to be safe. Endless Chain. We win. I think that was all the missions. I really hope so. And there's Holy. Alright. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And we'll skip this so people can see it for themselves on Global. And see if we got all the missions. That was my first time beating her, actually. Excellent, got them all. So that materia is 30% increased limit burst damage and 30% increased attack power. That materia is super good, which is the reason, the best reward from this fight. Asura herself as an Esper is actually not that special, but that materia is outstanding. Alright, so hopefully we get this month on Global like we should. See you guys soon.